And welcome to this week's edition of Christian World News, everyone. I'm George Thomas.
And I'm Wendy Griffith. The so-called Arab Spring took a deadly turn in Cairo this week. More than 24 people are dead and at least 200 wounded after an attack on a Coptic Christian church sparked riots. John Waggy has that story.
It was the worst violence since protests brought the ouster of former President Hosni Mubarak last February and March. Police arrested dozens of people in Cairo's Tahrir Square after clashes between Coptic Christians, Muslims, and security forces escalated out of control. Christians had gathered to protest after Muslims partially demolished a church last week. Attacks against Christian churches have increased since Mubarak's ouster. Christians represent just 10% of the country's 80 million people. Some leaders of both Christian and Muslim activists said the clashes were not as much related to religion as they were to the army's handling of the situation. The army has controlled the Egyptian government for the past 40 years. Rioters set cars on fire and burned army vehicles, and the army response was described as brutal by friends of victims who posted their condition on the internet. Egyptian leaders held an emergency cabinet meeting to decide how to respond to charges of brutality among their forces. The latest violence has created new concerns about the upcoming parliamentary elections scheduled for late November. John Waggy, CBN News.
And joining us now is international correspondent Gary Lane. Gary has been to Egypt just this year 3 times alone. Egyptian security forces said that the Christians started this. Is that correct?
Well, the Christians, all they did, they were carrying crosses and maybe poster board around the TV station, and this is when this happened.
And what are they protesting about? Why did this all happen? What sparked it?
Sure. Well, it was a church that had been attacked, but it's more than just one church. Mm-hmm. Ever since Mubarak stepped down from power, there have been at least 60 attacks against Christians. The government is doing nothing. The attack that happened a year ago, almost a year ago, at St. Mark's Church in Alexandria.
And you were there.
Yeah, I went there. We reported on that. There were nearly 24 people killed in that. Did you know not one person has been arrested yet? There has been no one charged or any prosecution.
And what is it about, Gary, what is it about the Christians in this country? Are they, in essence, second, third-class citizens not worth protecting?
Well, they are treated as second and third-class citizens. They are worth protecting. They're about 10% of the population, but, you know, they always go after the weakest in the society. They view the Coptics as being weak, as infidels, and the government, the military government, which has been in control for 40 to 50 years now, always uses the intelligence, the secret police, to attack them, because then it shows that the military is needed. Only the military can provide stability and security in the country.
We haven't seen these kinds of images during Mubarak's 40 years, 30 years in power, in essence, because he protected them, right?
Well,
I mean, there were
quite
cases,
a few attacks.
I mean, there were cases of persecution, but not to the level that we are seeing today.
Well, he used them. He used the Christians for his benefit, and when it wasn't for his benefit, then he wouldn't. But no, we're seeing more attacks since he has left power, at least in recent years.
And what needs to be done? What do we tell our viewers can be done to make sure that these men and women are not marginalized in Egyptian society?